Nothing better than waking up on a freezing cold, frosty morning to a nice, healthy, hot-cooked breakfast. This morning we're packing up our camp and doing a quick check over some of the vehicles before we head out for the day. We're going to go check out some of the local spots that are a little bit lesser known. First up of the day was a great little swimming spot and waterfall not too far off the beaten track.
Are you happy with yourself?
The water was freezing cold, but nothing was going to stop Tyler from jumping in for a cheeky swim. With the rain last night, the water was pumping, which made for some great scenic views, all while trying to avoid being eaten alive by the leeches. The tracks were a bit slippery and wet due to the overnight downpour, and you could really feel it in the air as we rolled into a little spot called the Firs. The Firs is a completely natural and ancient pine forest on the edge of Barrington Tops, which really turned up for us as the fog started to roll in. We thought no better opportunity to jump out and grab a few moody shots of all the rigs. A nice little wooded glen. After rolling out, making our way down to our next secret local spot, Bree found a short and gnarly little section of track that she just had to have a crack at. With the wet shale and slippery rocks, you can really see just how slippery and steep this little section of track was. Even the beast of a patrol was having trouble getting up this one, but man, doesn't it sound good. Our next tourist destination on our Barrington Tops tour was a lookout where we could really see the size and scale of the mountains we'd been climbing. Our videographer Ben seemed to really enjoy this part of it. A couple of other tourist locations and a phallic formation later, we decided it was time to hit the final track before we made our way back into camp. Tyler said this was going to be a nice, easy one to end the day, so we left the camera crew behind and dived straight into it. Seemed like this track hadn't been driven in quite some time, as every few hundred meters we had some massive potholes and massive trees down across the track. We had to cut down and maneuver our way around.
Wow. There's a massive hole in the wall.
It's like, how bad is it? Oh!
Gonna have a quick look at it.
Gonna have a cheeky film?
Massive hole in the ground there that you do not want to fall in.
I love getting slapped by clans.
The track became progressively more and more muddy, and before we knew it, we approached a massive deep bog hole. As always, we jumped out to check the depth to make sure that it was safe to drive through, but this stuff was so soft and boggy. We had to give it a few spirited cracks before busting out the winch to get us the rest of the way.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't have any toe points on the back of this. We can have a quick. Oh, you don't have to win tape. You might have to let that through, and then he pull you out.
I can tell you're very excited.
We got Gary through in the MUX with fairly little fuss, just a quick winch to get him out at the end, and we were good to keep moving forward. Back to a hard-earned cold beer back at camp. It seemed like the Battle of Navarras. TJ's twin-locked weapon came out on top as he made the bog hole look like a walk in the park compared to Tyler's effort. Just one last massive tree in the way that we had to bust out the winch to get past, as there was no chance our little handsaws were going to cut through it. We cleaned off some of the mud in a small creek, and lucky for us, Nick had already been working on a campfire back at camp. On the next episode of our Barrington Tops adventure, we're making our way back down to Port Macquarie. Let's hope nothing goes wrong on the way out.
Just driving a high. Drive a high.
Nothing wrong with Steve-O's Luxie.
Yeah, we'll do a little wood grab. I think. Who's best at grabbing wood? Would volunteer.
Ben. 100% Ben.
Brent! Too wet.
She said.
Yeah.
Grab some of that
Too wet.
hard wood of the forest. You gonna get some wood?
Get some wood.
Follow this trail for about 2.5 k's, 3 k's, and it'll take us through to a waterfall. Butcher's Swamp Road.
Who's up for a dip? Swim? Are you game?
Copy that.
Or make it without reversing?
Yeah, 100%. Now, if this was a Triton, Mitsubishi Triton has a class-leading turning circle.
Wouldn't have made it as good as the Ranger just did though. Did you see that?
It definitely would have. It would have made it better.